All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are the Westside Counseling Team. Just to note, if you guys have any questions, there will be a QR code at the end of the presentation where you can scan that, and then we will reach out to you with those answers to those questions. All right, so like I said, we are the Westside Counseling Team. My name is Trey Bronner. This is my second year here at West and third year as a counselor. And then I have the last names A through CI. Are we? Do you want me to?
It's good, we can yell.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm Megan Johnson-Gott. This is my first year as a counselor, but I taught here at West in the Social Studies Department for about 15 years prior to this. And I have the last names CL through HI.
Thank you guys for being here. My name is Kelly Bergman. I think this is my 13th year at West High, like my 18th or 19th overall. And my alphabet shifted a little bit, and I now work with homies, so HO through MI.
And I'm Greg Giver. I have students with the last names ML through SA. I'm 12th year at West High, but way too many years to count as an educator and as a counselor. So thank you all for being here as well.
And I'm Shannon Artfeld. This is my second year at West High, and I have students with the last name SC through Z.
My name is Russ Johnson. I'm the Career Development Facilitator. I think this is my 20th year in the district and my 17th year at West. I help students learn about careers through job shadows, internships, and then I also help students access college.
I'm Kayla Strand. I'm a college and career counselor here and at Liberty, and I help students with college applications, finding their career path, FAFSA help, and this is my first full year.
All right. Okay, so some things we'll go over tonight, how to research colleges, the types of colleges, and also admissions requirements for those colleges. We'll also give you a timeline and some platforms for applying, standardized testing, so ACT, SAT, scholarships, and then everybody's favorite, the FAFSA. All right, so hopefully you guys have kind of started to have some conversations with your student and what they want to do after high school. These options generally include college, whether that's a four-year university like Iowa or Iowa State, a two-year school like Kirkwood. Some students will go straight to work, also into the military, or take a gap year.
Okay, so if your student is still kind of in the research phase, figuring out where they want to go, and they're looking for some resources to help them narrow that down, here are some websites that would be super useful for them. So Big Future is actually by the College Board, which is the organization associated with AP, SAT, PSAT, and they can find information on colleges there, as well as quizzes that they can take to kind of help match them to colleges. Is this said Appley? Appley, okay. Appley is another one that's kind of cool. They can research colleges there and even do things like virtual visits to colleges. We have our West High college visits, so we keep those posted on a bulletin board near the main office, just kind of upcoming colleges that will be visiting West High. And then we also try and make sure that we announce those so that students know those are coming. And if they are interested in a college that is visiting West, then they can attend visit here and meet with a rep from that college and ask any questions that they have. And then a final resource is the U.S. News and World Report college rankings, that they can check that out to get information on colleges, as well as see how they rank when compared to one another. So there's a lot of information on this slide, but it basically is a comparison between the different types of colleges that students have the options of applying to and potentially attending. The big differences between colleges are going to involve the types of degrees that they can get from those different types of schools, the cost, and then the admission requirements. So I'm not going to read everything from this slide, but in general, when you're talking about your four-year universities, whether they're private and selective or public, you can get your four-year bachelor's degrees there, as well as advanced degrees. Big difference between public universities and private or more selective universities is going to be the cost of tuition, with higher tuition at the private or more selective schools. Public universities, Iowa has 3, the University of Iowa, University of Northern Iowa, and Iowa State University. Admissions requirements vary between these two four-year options. When you're talking about the more selective or private universities, they may consider a variety of things, and it's probably going to be different from school to school, but they will probably consider things like standardized test scores, ACT or SAT, which we'll talk more about in a little bit, the difference between those two. Their grade point average, the coursework that they've taken in high school, and then they may also consider essays or personal statements, letters of recommendation, as well as things like extracurricular involvement. When it comes to the public universities, like here in Iowa, University of Iowa, UNI, and ISU, they use what's called the RAI, which is the Regents Admission Index, and it's basically a formula that applies weight to their ACT or SAT score, their GPA, and then the coursework that they took in high school. And if they meet kind of a minimum threshold, then they would be admitted to the university, the public universities here in Iowa. And then also we have community colleges, which students can get 2-year degrees at, or vocational certificates, and some students might choose to pursue this option for a couple of years and then transfer that credit to a 4-year school. So Iowa has 15 community colleges, including Kirkwood. They do tend to be more affordable, and they operate with open admission, which is essentially if you have a high school diploma, you get admitted to that community college. And the vocational and technical schools are similar. They prepare students for specific occupations, and they can get vocational certificates. There's about 40 of them in Iowa. They also have open admission, and an example would be like IT or certificates in cosmetology.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to take the next couple slides. So parents often ask, when should we be looking to apply? And I would always encourage everybody to, it's always a good idea. Sooner is better than later. My fear for anybody is that, they're actually going to miss something. So, and the reason I say that is to get your admissions and get your application for college done first, and then you can move on to things like scholarship applications. For example, but you usually can't apply for a specific scholarship at an institution without having completed your application for admissions. So kind of on this chart, we've got a couple different things. I'm going to start on the left with the private and highly selective universities. Usually most schools will have maybe an early action deadline. So like if you meet that deadline, you might actually find out a little bit sooner as to whether you're admitted or not. And so those deadlines are coming up very shortly, November 1st for a lot of institutions. I think UNC Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina out of Chapel Hill, has the earliest deadline I'm aware of is like October 15th. That's coming up really, really soon. The vast majority of them otherwise, as a general rule, to try and get your college applications in Thanksgiving-ish for most places is a good kind of thing to go by. So you can kind of take a look at it. Once you get done with that college application, then you can move on to things like the FAFSA. And we'll get to the FAFSA in just a minute as far as the free application for federal student aid. Public universities, Iowa State, UNI are the ones within the state of Iowa. Neighboring states like the University of South Dakota, University of Minnesota, University of Wisconsin, University of Illinois at Champaign, Urbana. There are a lot of neighboring states. Sometimes you get those things done, you find out earlier with most of those public universities. Again, once you've got the application done, then you can move on to things like the FAFSA and figuring out as far as, when do you have to put in different deposits and some of that stuff. It's super important for kids. As students are applying, colleges are going to be communicating directly to students, and a lot of times that's in the form of an email. We have found, and tell me if I'm wrong, a lot of our kids are not great about checking their emails. So please do encourage them to regularly check, probably on a weekly basis, probably from Thanksgiving until February. Make sure they're checking their email, and if they have a question about what something is, have them forward it on to you or stop in to talk to one of us. Because a lot of times there's a lot of things that require action, and if they go and don't happen to look at that for 2 months, their application for admission might be in limbo because they just haven't done one thing, or they haven't acknowledged something, or they haven't signed it, or something simple. So please do encourage them to, once they hit submit and they've applied, make sure they're going back and double checking to verify that there's not something that they might happen to be missing. Community colleges, kids can be applying for the fall of 2025 now. It's probably not quite as important that they do that in the fall, but a lot of times for different programs that we find with Kirkwood, some of those programs do fill up. And so the sooner you actually get in, the sooner you get things completed. And yes, I really want to do this in the fall of 25. That really helps get them a spot. When they get everything all buttoned up and tucked away, then they're in. But if they don't meet some of those deadlines, sometimes that means they don't actually get to start in the fall of 2025. Maybe they might have to get pushed back to, they might take some gen ed courses and then they actually jump into some of those specific major courses maybe in the next semester. So I'd hate to see that happen to students. Same thing with vocational schools. Again, if you want to ensure a spot in a program at a college, please do make sure that you're getting things done in a timely manner, and then double checking on things, making sure that you're not missing a very vital, important piece. Okay. And then types of colleges and finalizing plans. So again, a lot of times students who are applying for more selective colleges or universities, the months of January through March, they're waiting for an admissions decision. Public universities, most, like for example, Iowa, because a third of our students traditionally who are graduating from West High will apply to Iowa and will go to Iowa. A lot of times they will find out within a few days that they're admitted or that they're not, or what the next step is for them, and then usually after the first of the year, it's kind of starting to complete some of those admissions deposits or housing deposits or some of those other applications that maybe they need to complete. And then beyond that point, and the good news is Iowa's a great partner to have here in Iowa City, and they know how many students we have that graduate every year. They're really good about actually scheduling times to come in this very space to try and pull in kids that have applied, and here are your next steps. Here's what you need to be looking out for. Check your email. Make sure that you're following up on these deposits. If you know you're coming to Iowa, make sure you're doing this, and this. So Iowa's a really good in that way, and we present lots of opportunities for kids to make sure that they're getting everything that they need to have done. And then the next step to finalize that process is to make sure that you're completing your admissions orientation. And so that's usually usually where kids will go and make their selection of the courses that they would take for the following fall. Community colleges submitting the application, if they would like housing, most institutions will offer housing of some sort. Kirkwood, uniquely enough, does not have dorms. They have apartments that are up near their campus. A lot of them are within walking distance. Some, they have buses that will take them to and from their apartments if they're a little bit farther away. And most students, many students that go up to school at Kirkwood would have a vehicle that they would choose to drive as well. And then make sure that students are planning to attend those orientations and those program conferences a lot of times to get specifically signed up for a specific program that might be a high demand. Vocational schools, again, very similar to community colleges. Just make sure that they've submitted their application. If they need housing, make sure that that process is completed. So just applying is kind of step one. There's a lot of following steps that need to make sure that kids complete those additional tasks as they go through the process. And then kind of the last thing that we will send out to kids, and it's probably on here somewhere, a lot of times kids have to submit a final transcript, and we will do that. Kids will indicate to us where they want their final transcript to go, but none of that will take place until after the school year is over. So like after graduation's over, a couple days after that school ends, that's when we actually send out the final transcripts to institutions. So kids will all indicate on a Google form before they walk across the stage where they plan to attend college. We will send off that final transcript. That is a piece of the puzzle that we will complete, and they will fill out that Google form telling us exactly what institution it is.
Okay, college application platforms. So we have a lot of students who are trying to do what's called the Common App, Common Application. So that is a platform where there are hundreds of schools that are available in that platform, and it's a one-stop shop for you to be able to submit your college applications. For those students, they tend to be applying to a lot of different colleges. A range is generally between 5 to 7. We do have some students who are applying to over 20, right? So it's everything in between. 5 to 7 tends to be the general range. And so students who are using the Common App are applying to maybe some out-of-state schools, some more highly selective colleges. And then they're also applying to maybe an Iowa or an Iowa State as their backup. So those are the students that are using Common App. Those do require essays. They do require letters of recommendation, including one from your counselor, okay? If you're a student who's just planning on applying to 1 or 2 schools, maybe you're a student who's just planning on applying to just Iowa, for example, there is no reason or no need to do the Common Application, okay? So we do have quite a few students who are applying to in-state schools and writing essays that don't need to be writing essays. So if you have any questions about where you're planning on applying to and what application platform you should be using, please reach out to us. We're happy to help you navigate that. But again, the Common Application, lots of schools, requires letters and essays, or if you're applying to a handful, it's usually best just to do it through the individual college. Oh, testing, my favorite subject. So, we generally recommend that every student take an SAT or an ACT. So those are called college admissions tests, and they help kind of give school some context as to where you stand. So we have a lot of students who have not taken exams because many schools are now called test optional. So you no longer have to take an ACT or an SAT for admissions. However, they are going to require or ask for a test score if you want to maximize the amount of scholarship money the institution will give you, okay? So if you're a student who maybe you're applying to an in-state school and you have a great GPA, you'll have no issues getting admitted into the college. If you don't have a test score, you may not get as much money from the college in scholarship money to attend. So, if your student has not taken an ACT or an SAT, we would strongly recommend that they do so. There are some dates still left for the ACT, and there are some dates left for the SAT. Kind of talking about the difference between the two, statistically speaking, kids tend to score better on an ACT because you'll see that it's an average of 4 different sections. So there's an English, a math, a science, and a reading. So you can score maybe not so well in one section, but do really well in the other 3 and still have a really strong score. The SAT is a math and a reading section or an English section, and the score is a sum. So those scores are added together. Therefore, if you don't do really well on one section, that's really going to hurt your overall score. So if you're a student who has not taken a test, I mean, generally speaking, we would say go ahead and do an ACT. If you have questions on what one might be best for you, again, please work with your school counselor. February tends to be the last date that colleges will look for those. So again, if you've applied, maybe you've already been accepted, that's totally fine. They'll still take a test score up through typically April 1st. So again, that's usually February for the ACT is your last option, or March for your SAT is your last option. General rule, submit your score. So even if you don't feel like it's a really strong score, as long as you're falling somewhere in the average, that's going to give the college a really good idea of where you stand. And particularly for in-state schools, that will probably actually help you get more scholarship money.
All right, I'll touch a little bit on paying for college, FAFSA and scholarships. So FAFSA, that stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. We are lucky enough to have ICANN is coming in after this presentation, so definitely stick around if you want to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of FAFSA. So that application will open up December 1st. And then this will also use your last year's tax information, and pretty much all schools are going to want to see your FAFSA submitted. So definitely, even if you don't think you want to submit it, definitely we encourage you to submit the FAFSA form. So institutional scholarships. So this is free money given to students directly from the college or university. A lot of times this is based on merit, so your GPA and your either ACT or SAT score. And it can also be renewable each year. So, for example, the University of Iowa, they offer the Iowa Scholar Award. And so this is anywhere from $500 to $8,500 and can be, like I said, renewed for up to 4 years. And this is based off of, would be based off your student's GPA and then also the SAT or ACT. I also encourage you guys to definitely reach out to the admissions office of the school you're applying to. They'd be able to give you more resources and kind of some more information regarding their institutional scholarships. For local scholarships, we do have a list available on our website. So if you go to the Iowa City West High School website and then click on school counseling, you'll be able to see all that under our scholarship tab. And then those are going to start rolling in here, I'd say anywhere from November to December. And then so we'll have all of those posted. Those do require some more specific generalized requirements. So for example, there's a scholarship on there where, for a student who's going to UNI who wants to major in education. So again, a little bit more specific. And so these are awarded at the senior awards night, usually late April, early May timeframe. Those will be awarded then.
So like Mr. Bronner said, we definitely encourage you to submit a FAFSA, even if you think you might not get much money. Everyone would be offered student loans, and a lot of colleges will use the financial aid and FAFSA information to just help you understand your costs, what the cost of attendance is, and also a lot of scholarships require a FAFSA, even if you don't demonstrate financial need from that. I'm shorter than everyone else. Submit the FAFSA, basically. So myself, Kayla Strand, and Russ Johnson, we can help students with this. I used to work in financial aid, so I have a pretty good understanding of that. And we have ICANN, Iowa College Access Network. After this, we'll take a little break, but definitely encourage you to stick around and learn more about how to pay for college, the ins and outs of the FAFSA, making your studentaid.gov account. Yeah.
Okay, so we just have a few more things just to let you know about. We are hosting an Apply Day this year. It's brand new to West High. Any seniors that could be applying to our state universities, community colleges, will have representatives here on Friday, October 18th to help with those applications, help answer any questions. And then we also will be rolling out an advisory lesson for our seniors on Wednesday, November 6th, and we'll be helping them set up the FAFSA ID. Okay, so how can you support your student through the application process? First of all, just talk with your student, try and help narrow down where do they want to apply to different colleges, what is that going to take? Then I would also talk about the cost of the university or the institution. Have a discussion about, how much are we going to help pay? How much of it's going to be through financial aid? Are you going to get a job? Things like that, so that there aren't any surprises next year. And then encourage your student to meet with their school counselor to determine the best way to apply. You guys have heard about Common App, you've heard about applying directly to universities, things like that. Have your student think about what documentation they're going to need. Are they going to need a letter of recommendation? If they need one from a teacher and a counselor, they should be working on that right now. They don't want to wait till the last minute. I know we have some teachers in our building who, get numerous requests from students. The earlier, the better. And then also, we say students should have their plans finalized by November 1st. And what we mean by that is, what platform do you think you're going to use to apply? So, for instance, as Mr. Yoder said, if you're going to do Common App, it's really good that they've reached out, they've started working on their application, and they plan to have that completed by November 1st. Okay, so additional questions. I know we covered a lot tonight. This is Senior 101, so we kind of wanted to give you an overview of everything that you may have a question about. I'm sure that there's going to be more, so you can take this opportunity to go ahead and use your phones and use the QR code. Reach out to the counselors. We will get back to you as soon as we can. It could take us a week or so, just know that. It's a very busy time of year, but we will try and get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks for attending.